Okay, guys, so this video here may come as a shock to some of you, or maybe all of you, even for a fact. I'm pretty sure I've explained it though. So, some of you that know, you already know. Anyways, people, or actually, I should say, I get asked by a lot of people the same question: what are the factory settings for my engine? Whether that be like an HPI or a Traxxas engine or a Associated or whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. What's the factory settings for this engine? Oh, you have that same engine. What are the factory settings for it? Now, this is the shocker. I have no fucking idea what the factory settings are for any engine. Any of them. It doesn't matter what brand or size or anything. I have no idea. Not a damn clue in the world. I have almost 60 engines, and every manufacturer recommends something different. Traxxas will say they want the low speed flush and then 4 turns out, and then HPI says this, and Team Associated says this, and then Nova Rossi wants this, that, and the other. It's just too much to remember. There's too much good music stuck in my head from the 80s. Anyways, I made a mistake once in the 80s, but we're not going to talk about that. Moving on. Okay, so what do? Factory settings. Oh shit, I have a new engine. I've never used it before. The needles are in a box separately from the carburetor. What's up? So, first thing I do, and this doesn't really matter. I mean, it might matter on some carburetors more than others because some are different. Like the way well, I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So this one, the low speed's here. Idle's here. That's not really too important, but this one, you can see the low speed needle right there. So it's on the slide right here. So this one, if you do try to put it all the way flush with this color, it'll fall out. But most of them, you can go flush. Just like this one, you can go flush with these like a normal rotary style carburetor. This one opens front to back rather than left to right. So what I do is, you will need one of these. And I go low speed, flush, right? Flush out your low speed, flush your high speed. This will be an extremely rich setting. This will pretty much be a break-in setting. And then you set your idle gap down here, or wherever your idle screw is, depending on what carburetor you have. This one's right here. You set that to 1 millimeter. Now, how do you know it's at 1 millimeter? There's a few easy ways you can tell. Get yourself a drill index, like a drill bit set in millimeters, metric, and pull one out that says 1 millimeter. Turn on your electronics. Make sure your throttle's closed, and then open your idle screw until you can slip a 1 millimeter drill bit in that gap right there. And then you know you're at 1 millimeter. You can also use kind of one of those fatter paper clips. That works too. So flush high, flush low, and then 1 millimeter set at idle. Obviously, make sure that your trim settings on your radio are not holding your throttle open or anything like that, or that your endpoints are set correctly. Actually, I think this is a 1 millimeter. Maybe. Well, okay, so we'll do this together then. So yeah, you don't want your electronics to fuck up your stuff. So we're going to go and let's see what we're sitting at here. We're sitting almost closed. So what we're going to do is we're just going to open up that idle until, well, there we go, right on the money. A 1 millimeter drill bit will fit in there. See that? Right in the gap. I'm holding the slide closed with my hand, like pushing on it. And set it right there. Now, it's going to want to idle a little bit high. That's normal. But if you know how to tune, you can dial it in from there. You can back the idle out, lean your low speed in. And what you really want to do is try to get your low speed and idle set first, so that it's calmed down. The wheels aren't going 1,000 miles an hour. It's not going bleh every time you hit the gas and puking and falling on its face from being too rich in the low speed. You then will go with your high speed, which is still set at level, right? Like how it is here. Now, it's going to be puking rich. It's not going to want to come up to temperature very well. There's going to be tons of oil and blue smoke everywhere. So then what you do is you start making small adjustments here, like, say you go 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, like the numbers on a clock. That's what I mean by hours. And you'll notice the more you lean it, the more it'll start to kind of come alive, and when you hit the gas, it'll smoke less, and the RPMs will come up faster. It'll go faster. It'll sound better. Then you're gonna have to probably play with your low speed and your idle a little bit. But once you get that high speed set up, you're usually fine. But like I said, it usually really helps if you know how to tune. Now, there is other carburetors that only have a high-speed needle, no low speed, which you're only going to be tuning with one. There is 3-needle carburetors, and if you do have one of those, if you don't understand how the third needle works, leave it. And we're going to imagine what that would look like for a moment here. So if you do have a 3-needle carb, you'll have low-speed needle, idle, and high speed. And then you'll have another one right here usually. This will be your lowest or your mid-range needle. Leave it alone. Don't touch that if you don't understand how they work. Just play with these three, or the idle, low, and high. That's about as best as I can tell you. I mean, at least as best as I can explain it to you. It's just set low speed flush if you can, depending on the carburetor you have. High speed flush if you can, depending again. And then idle gap at 1 millimeter. That'll pretty much work for any engine out there. But like I did say, that there is some engines like this where you don't really know where flush is. So if you do have an engine that has one of these type of needles on it, you can kind of screw in or out like that with your fingers, like on a Traxxas. I usually go 4 turns out with those, and that seems to be fine. Yeah, I usually go about 4 turns out with these guys, or flush on these guys. And then if you do have one with a low speed needle that's recessed like this, to the point where if you do try to go flush, it'll just fall out because it's at the end of its travel. This right here, I usually go 3 to 3.5. And that seems to be a pretty much good baseline. I hope all this is making sense at least. So in this case, it would be set this, well, just, you know, kind of, whatever you call that. You know what I mean. So set idle at 1 millimeter gap, flush here, and then go 3.5 down here. And that'll usually be fine. That'll, again, work for most engines. Or if you do have this style where you can go flush, flush, and then 1 again. Or if you got one like this, go flush, go 4 turns, and then go 1 millimeter again. So it's kind of all the same, just a little bit different. At least, like I said, that's the best way I can describe it. So that's just the things that I do. I know that probably sounded like a bunch of jumbled nonsense to most of you, but hopefully that helps. Yeah, like I said, I don't know what the factory settings are for any engine. Those are just the things I've always done, and it always seems to work. I've always had good luck with that that method of doing that. So hopefully that answers your question, because I get the question literally every day, what's the factory setting for my HPI 4.6 or my T-Max or something like that? And I'm like, I don't know. Go do this, do this, do this. Well, mine's different. Okay. And also, there is my group too, which you guys can ask, and which is the nitro/diesel/gas RC and more. So you guys can join that and ask in there, post a video of the carburetor and whatever else, and you'll pretty much get the same answer that I gave you, or at least something very similar to that. And if you're uncertain, post a video in there. You guys can check out Nitro RC Enthusiasts as well, another great group. Now, when people also message me about their RC car not running properly, oh, it's running funny, what do I do? You know, what do I do because of this, or how do I do this? Well, again, it's easier if you're in a group. That way you can actually post a video of the problem rather than just trying to get me to guess what's up, because it might sound one way to you and then sound another way completely different to me. Like, you can be like, oh, it's way too rich, but it's in fact, you know, stupid lean or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard for me to really gauge it and understand unless I can see it and hear it. I mean, anyone will tell you the same thing. And you can get any Tom, Dick, and Harry idiot on the internet go, oh, just screw the high speed needle in some more. And when in fact they have not a fucking clue what they're talking about. So those are just some things to keep in mind. So stop asking. Not trying to be a dick, but I'm just being honest here. And that's what it's all about. I don't do bullshit on this channel. Obviously, most of you know that. So if you want bullshit, go watch that fucking clown that tells you to remove piston and cylinders with flathead screwdrivers. if you want bad advice or bullshit. Anyways, guys, hopefully that kind of sheds some light on it, or at least how I kind of do it and how I've always done it. It always works. So maybe it'll work for you. Maybe it won't. I don't know. Like I said, join a group, have fun, post some videos, ask questions, and keep on burning nitro, because nitro's good for you. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Take it easy. Later.